I want to talk briefly about the tackle for trotting. I'm on the riverbank on the Dorset Stour. The river's up and it's a bit murky. It's dropping quite fast, but there's a lot of colour down there, and whether I actually catch anything when I do start to fish is open to debate, but I'm going to have a go. The first thing I've set up before I've done anything else is set my landing net up. Always do that first, then it's done. It's no good starting fishing in your rush and finding first cast you hook a big fish and you've got no landing net. So that's the first essential. I brought along an fairly old match rod here. It's a Normark Vantage Super Match. These came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. 13 foot. Got a screw fitting on the handle. I've got a flat bit there that I've modified so it sits nicely, and it's quite a nice action. It's a hollow tip and quite tippy, but it bends further down, so quite a nice rod really all round to use. Like I say, 3-piece 13-foot rod. This is perfect to learn to trot with. My ideal reel is the Mitchell Match, but they stopped making these 35 years ago. I've got lots of old ones in various states of repair. They all work well because I look after them. Apart from a couple that have donor reels now for spare parts. And they're typically loaded with 2.5 or 3 pound line, occasionally 2 pound line, which is perfect to start trotting with. What you're more likely to come across is a reel like this, which is a Shimano Stradic, 2500 size. This has got the rear drag, again loaded with 3 pound line, and just the job. And that's some Dave Harrell line. He doesn't do that line anymore. That's the float fish. Now we're onto the match line, which is a better line. The traditionalists prefer centre pins for trotting. This is an Adcock Stanton. This has got the alloy reel seat, which I've had to modify to get it to even fit on the modern rods. Very free running, I won't spin it round. Loaded with 3 pound line. This has got no ratchet on it. There's no line guard, but it does work very well. It spins beautifully. It's got a ball race in the middle of it. For floats to start with, one ideal float to start with are these Drennan wire stem Avons. There's 3BB and 5BB. I think you'll find the black ones in the shops nowadays. Need a rubber of about 3mm at the tip, fairly fine tight rubber at the bottom. There is an eye there, you can ignore that. But other similar floats are ones like these balsas, which again take about 6 or 7 BB. So when you start, you want to be using about 1 BB for every foot of depth. So don't be afraid to use some weight. When we fish with a stick float, fish much lighter, much less shot. And that one's quite a bit heavier, that one there, 4 AAA. And in my stick float series, you'll see fishing with far more finesse. The other type of float, which if you can find it, this is a traditional Avon float with a Olivet weight, and that's just the job for general trotting. And this one takes, I think that's a 4 gram weight, so it's quite a lot of lead. That's equivalent to 10 BB, but it really will hold in when there's a lot of flow and depth. The general things you need: a good selection of split shot. These are Dinsmores. I think the actual ones in there are anchor shot, and they're pretty good. I prefer the anchor ones. I think Dinsmore make all the shot. Dave Harrell now does shot, and I'm sure they're made by Dinsmores, the same as everyone else, but you'd have to ask him for that. And I like some number 8 dust shot as well. That's the basic tackle. I'm going to get tackled up and have a little go, see what happens. Just tackling up the float now. I've put on the thin rubber at the bottom. lift a little bit over, just wet the tip, push that, it's nice and tight, bit of silicone there, and we just do that, so just right by the tip of the line there. We're going to guess this a few feet, do a double overhand knot to make a small loop. Pull that tight, clip off the end with some scissors, and then we're going to shot this up with some a bunch of BB about 2 foot from where the hook's going to be. So that means just above the loop. Going to put 4 BB above the loop. Going to put a size 18 hook to nylon on, which I've already tied. And he's got fairly long hook lengths, around about 20 inches. It's tied itself in a great big knot. And that's tied to 2 pound line, size 18 carbon chub. Loop to loop, and then we want a number 4 on there. On the hook length, about 10 inches from the hook, as long as we don't drop it. So we've got 10 inches from the hook to the first shot, and then about 18 inches up to the buncher shot, 4 BB, and then another 2.5 foot, and I think it's about 4 foot deep down here, so that's what I'm going to try. I need to check the depth here. If I've got a plummet, I'll be well away. Yeah, got a nice big plummet there with a loop and a cork, and we just stick the hook through the loop into the cork. And then we can try the depth. Just got a few maggots to fish with today. I'm not taking this fishing very seriously, just trying to demonstrate the gear needed. I've plumbed the depth, I've added another number, I think it's a number 4 shot between the single dropper and the bulk. And then we just nick 2 maggots on the size 18. And we're fishing.